Okay, good morning and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, this morning to the launch of Queensland AgTech Month. We've got a special line of, I suppose, speakers today, including the chairman of Beef Week 2021, Bryce Camm, and a few other producers and technologists to sort of kick off, I suppose, what's an exciting time for Queensland in terms of AgTech and the evolving community, but also what it can mean for your farms and the businesses that you run. So I just want to run through, I suppose, just a bit of a background slide session, just to show everyone, I suppose, the context of which we're operating here today. So, Kelly, could you throw up the slides, please? Okay, great. So, Kelly, thanks very much for that. So yeah, this morning I suppose it's all about Queensland AgTech Month and what we're sort of kicking off. Queensland AgTech Month was founded by, I suppose, a group of disparate and regional innovators and I suppose regional leaders that pulled together, I suppose, a coordination of all the AgTech and just placed it in 1 month in November. Right in time for everyone to, I suppose, review their businesses. And I suppose review their production systems going into what we're hoping is La Nina this year. So I just thought we'd kick off with a couple of slides just to begin with, and yeah. So in terms of the world this year, it's pretty much been tipped upside down with COVID and everything relating to it. But also at the same time, the global population, in terms of people that need food, fibre, and everything that we produce for consumption, is growing at about 82 million people a year. So that's the equivalent of the total population of Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, and Portugal, all in 1 year. So every year we've got to, I suppose, house, food, and look after these people, and it's our, I suppose, mission, and we're charged with the requirement of providing this extra feed. So in terms of COVID, it's provided challenges in distribution and processing, but yeah, the draw is still there from the global population to need this food supply. So you can see I suppose this is the last 8 years in terms of production. It's played out quite well, the variability in Australian agriculture in terms of rainfall. So this is a mapped, I suppose, zoning of the variability levels in rainfall in Australia. You can see I'm in Longreach in Western Queensland, so we're in one of those red sort of bands there. But Australia, in terms of global context, is the most highly variable continent for rainfall in the world, and so you can see here within this continent, it's extremely variable. So in terms of technology, we really need everything going for us to be able to support viable production and efficiencies. So that's why we thought it'd be good to pull together today and the speakers today, just to show people on what they're doing and what events are available to run across Queensland. Coronavirus is a big aspect of what's happened this year with border closures, but agriculture being an extremely vital industry, we've been supported quite well by government, and it's great to have a stable sort of system of government in Australia to support us. So we're extremely unique in Australia, and particularly Queensland this year, to be able to, I suppose, produce and sell and keep the supply chains open. I suppose if you're looking for AgTech to accelerate your production or improve your business, there's sort of 4 elements, I suppose, that you look at. There's production. So can the AgTech accelerate and improve production? Can it improve your profitability? Can it improve your overall performance? And does it contribute to a better lifestyle for you and your family? Key things to consider when considering AgTech adoption is simply, is it practical, and will it increase number of units sold, so turnover, increase the kilos you produce off your property, or the output, as some people refer to it? Will it increase the price you receive per unit sold, so will it increase the I suppose the price, in terms of market? And you can see an extraordinary cattle market at the moment, probably in the top 1 percentile of historical markets. So I think there was quoted on Stock Live today, well in advance of $7.20 for some weaner cattle. So yeah, we're all-time amazing highs, and you'd consider technology as maybe online platforms for enabling you to penetrate the value chain a little bit more. I suppose will that technology cut some of your costs? Will you save fuel? Will you create efficiencies with that? And will it improve your performance? So they're the sort of lenses that we've sort of identified to look through when reviewing ag tech and how it can improve your business. So there's a few aspects of ag tech. There's connectivity. So have you got available data for the requirements of your technology and the way you operate your business? Have you got the right software to support the technology, or is the technology in fact the software? Have you got the right hardware? So your operating systems and computers and monitors in field, the correct hardware. Ariel, we'll be talking to Jerome later on today about his drone technologies and how he converts that into business decisions. Monitoring, so in terms of security and also just insights created from, I suppose, monitoring water and also sort of field sampling, and we're evolving into, I suppose, monitoring cattle and livestock as well, and in-field monitors. So these are different areas that you can consider ag tech to be part of, and particularly the home office. It's extremely important to have an efficient home office so that you can really pull together the business decisions into one sort of very efficient, I suppose, session, instead of having everything disparate and everything hard to pull together. It's great to have an efficient home office. So in terms of my background, I'm a producer from Longreach in Western Queensland. We've always been here, 5th generation farming, and we run a organic, GAP accredited, very diverse farm based out in Longreach. We've got a solar farm, agri-tourism, and we've got software. So when the drought started a few years ago, I started up a projection engine software-based platform, which is called AgriHive. We've partnered with, I suppose, the Queensland government, federal government, and 3 NRM groups to roll AgriHive's product across 3 regions across Queensland. So we're quite busy with that, and it's all about projecting, I suppose, financially how you're performing to make decisions today. So that's what the interface looks like. We've got some great feedback on in-use cases with that, and we're just in terms of ag tech and the position we're up to at the moment. We're in final stages of a large capital raise where we're building another iteration of this. Another thing that we've started off just recently is farmer tech. So in terms of the technology and how to interact with it, I suppose we're vetting different styles of technology that might be applicable to the farming, I suppose, community. And our first application that we've negotiated with and for farmers is the audio sunglasses created by Bose. So we've got those on a website called farmertech.io, and what I've found is they're just extremely efficient at leveraging your time on farm, whether it be mustering, whether it be I suppose drafting cattle, trucking cattle, but also just making phone calls and listening to podcasts. We've got these audio sunglasses which are use bone technology to, I suppose, transfer audios while you're wearing the sunglasses. You can also make phone calls as well, but in terms of who's using them, we've got about 30 different people trialling them at the moment, and they're being used by truckies, agents, fencing contractors, bankers, and they just find that they're extremely great for, I suppose, protecting your eyes, but also education and learning. So they're all up, and we're looking to, I suppose, add more products as we go and negotiate, I suppose, better prices and deals for the farming community. But it's all just about coordinating the technology. So that's what we're sort of doing there. Having said that, we'd love to talk to our next presenter and the keynote speaker, Bryce Camm, this morning. And I'd like to welcome Bryce. And Bryce and I have known each other for quite a while, and it's been great to see Bryce's journey up into chairman of Beef Week. And we're really looking forward to, in the current adversity, to see how Bryce pulls it all together. So handing over to you now, Bryce, and thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks so much, James. I will try my best to share these slides. which hopefully now that's live. Look, first of all, can I really thank James and the entire team at DAF? I think it's tremendously exciting to be here in the first week of what is AgTech month here in Queensland. I think the support and the investment that the State Department of Ag is putting into this space, I think, speaks volumes to the capacity that Queensland has in agriculture, and particularly in the new developments in this space. So it's tremendous to have the opportunity to come along and present with you today, but also, thank you so much to DAF, a great supporter of Beef Australia and also of AgTech here in Queensland. So look, I was really wanting to, in the limited time I've got with you, talk you through three sort of aspects. Really, I guess, in terms of setting the scene, giving you a little bit of background around our own personal experiences here at the Camm Agricultural Group around the adaptation of technology and new innovations in the beef industry in particular, and then I'll take everyone through an update on Beef Australia, and particularly in the lead up to our event in May next year, or in May 2021, and finally talking you through some of the new focus that the event next year will have, particularly around AgTech. So look, jumping into it, I guess it's, I thought it would be important just to set the scene a little bit around our own experiences with AgTech. So Camm Ag is a supply chain based business. We operate 9 sites in Queensland and predominantly focused around the beef cattle production sector. So we operate extensive grazing properties in North Queensland and backgrounding properties through CTU and a feedlot endpoint on the Darling Downs near Dalby. And I guess when we talk about technology and innovation in our sector and in our business, we break it currently down into 3 segments. So really, some of those are what we refer to as the giant leap forward. And I guess everyone that currently talks around AgTech and innovation sometimes, I think, gets a little bit caught up on drones and maybe software and kind of the frontier. I guess we look at some of the biggest impacts in our business around cost efficiency in terms of meeting the requirements of our production system with a decreasing staff base and trying to maintain margin. And so some of those things for us that have been really vital in the last 10 years and remain so are things like helicopter mustering, the invention and the use of polythene pipe in opening up new areas and transmitting water, the introduction of buffel grass into Australia. I think, I'm not sure how many people are signed on from Central and Northern Queensland on this webinar today, but I shudder to think what our production rates across this great state and many of our developed regions without the introduction of buffel grass. And finally, the tropically adapted cattle. It's I think back to earlier years of some of the shorthorn breeds and sort of traditional British breeds that opened up a lot of Northern Australia in particular, and think of the great advancements in production, in fertility and weight gain that has come with the introduction of northern and tropically adapted cattle to the beef sector here in Australia. I guess we then break it down into what are the incremental growth elements that are driving our interest in innovation and what are we currently doing on the ground today. And so some of those things that we've widely adopted and continue to do through our business is around conversion of solar across a lot of our water pumping infrastructure, both away from wind and diesel powered to solar powered pumps, both on surface water and in bores. The introduction of GPS technology across, particularly on our farming operations, so in tractors, in headers, and in spray coops, that really has revolutionised our farming operations in terms of accuracy, but also repeatability, and in minimising our outputs, particularly around fertiliser and spray chemical through the advent and use of GPS. One of the biggest things we've done here at our feedlot operation in the last 2 years has been, in overcoming the connectivity space So we invested significantly in a capital side of things in connecting a high-speed wireless broadband live link back to the township of Dalby, some 35 kilometres away. Look, that investment was not cheap. It cost almost $50,000, but what it has allowed us to do, is move a lot of our format into the cloud here at Wonga Plains. It's given our entire feedlot site Wi-Fi capability. It allows us to interact, with other office sites both across Queensland but also in Brisbane, and we find that has been really advantageous in terms of having a secure link to allow a lot of our connectivity on. I think some of the elements around also the introduction of water telemetry. So we're trialling 2 systems here at the moment that we've got about 5 water telemetry readings that's working really well, and wanting to roll out that further. I think sort of the new horizon stuff for us and things of what we think's really exciting that's starting to be here and I think starting to be commercially viable. So is in particular around animal health monitoring, both in a feedlot and a grazing scenario. I think that is going to be a giant leap forward again for the wider sector. Automated bunk calling in terms of checking and measuring the amount of feed available in our feedlot bunks. Driverless tractors and machinery. Large drone technology to replace the use of helicopters and in a safer format potentially. And also looking at further advancements in grain processing technology and some of the microwaving, to move potentially away from steam flaking in our feedlot environment. So look, that's a bit of a taste of what we're doing here at home ourselves. But I think probably pretty excitingly, one of my very cherished roles has been the opportunity to be the chair of Beef Australia. And we've got a rich history in Beef Australia in over 30 years of being Australia's premier industry event for the Australian beef industry. So obviously the event happens every 3 years in May, and our next will be from the 2nd to the 8th of May. Now look, in the current COVID environment, I think we were quite daunted a couple of months ago at looking at the prospects of what that may mean for Beef Australia and our event next year. And the board and the entire team of Beef Australia have been working ferociously in the background to understand what this new challenge means for our event and for our wider sector, and how best we as an organisation are to showcase our industry both here around the country and around the world, and also ensure that it is a spectacle of the Australian beef industry, while being an important economic contributor to Rockhampton and the central Queensland region. So look, the board a couple of months ago made an announcement that we would settle on what the future held for the event in May later in November. And that is still on track to be our announcement around the future prospects of Beef Australia. But what I can tell those that are interested today is that we have submitted our COVID safe plan, and that is currently with the team from the Chief Medical Officer here in Queensland. And we have had a highly engaged and successful public safety working group that has assisted the team at Beef Australia in developing that COVID safe plan for the event. Look, we've received some very positive feedback so far around that plan, and the board, currently is very much looking forward to announcing some of the changes that will be happening around Beef Australia, but hopefully that we have entire sign-off on our event to operate in a COVID-safe way, and that we will be coming back to all of our cherished stakeholders and the public to announce very soon, hopefully, that Beef Australia in May will be occurring, and welcoming everyone to our host city here in Rockhampton. Look, I guess to jump from there, the final piece I really wanted to take people through today, and I think very fittingly around AgTech Month, is the launch of what some of the new initiatives at Beef Australia to really showcase and highlight the great advancements in AgTech and the impact that they are currently having and will have on the future of our sector. So the first of those is the Coombe Tech Yards. Now, unfortunately, our beef industry community lost Mr. Coombe earlier this year. Ken was an icon of particularly the Central Queensland beef industry. He was the inaugural chairman of Beef Australia, but importantly, he was at the forefront of adopting new ideas and technology into the wider Stanbroke business when he was a driver of that. And the board and community at Beef Australia thought it would be very fitting to apply his name to our new tech yards concept. So the Coombe tech yards will be the AgTech and innovation hub at Beef Australia. It will be a new expanded precinct, so an expansion of the grounds and footprint in Rockhampton, and it will be an area to focus on beef-centric innovations and technology. We want the display to be focusing on products and services that are market or almost market ready. And I think very excitingly, there will be an interactive demonstration area. So that will, what we're really wanting is stakeholders across the entire beef supply chain to come and really experience, to test, to have a real hands-on experience in looking at what we think will be some of the bigger game changers to the Australian beef industry going forward. So that live and interactive demonstration area, we think will be a pivotal point of difference from some other trade fair displays focusing on AgTech. We've got a highly qualified and an enthusiastic coordinator for this part of Beef Australia in Bridget Kirkwood, and Bridget comes from a long experience in the AgTech sector, particularly around GPS and its adoption, and has had a career in this space of technology around the globe. So look, we have a terrific working group that's pulling this concept together, and we are currently out in the market seeking expressions of interest from businesses and products that want to be involved in featuring in the Coombe Tech Yards. And so importantly, those applications do close later this month, and I'd encourage any interested party to go on to the Beef Australia website. That's beefaustralia.com.au and search for the link to the Coombe Tech Yards, where you'll find more information about the tech yards and also the application process. So there will then be a selection committee that will work through those exhibitors and products that best fit the format of the tech yards, and will excitingly hopefully be a part of featuring at our event next year. The second element around our focus on innovation and technology is the return of the highly successful Pitch in the Paddock contest. Now, in 2018, we launched this concept as a new and exciting element to the program at Beef Australia. It is the world's only beef-centric pitching competition, and we are once again looking to scour and search the world and through here in Australia in finding those people wanting to pitch the next big development that's related to the beef industry. So last time we took 8 finalists through, and thankfully we worked with a great team with KPMG to help train and build up those exhibitors or pitches in the lead up to May 18, where we then had them present their concept to a stage of, and about 600 odd people in the audience and 3 judges. So look, this concept is really for those startup and new idea businesses to get involved with an opportunity to highlight their concept or their new initiative to the wider Australian beef supply chain, but also not just about customers and potential users of the technology or service, but importantly the opportunity to get in front of people that are heavily invested in the Australian beef industry and looking at supporting new and innovative ideas. So again, applications closed for the Pitch in the Paddock process again on the 30th of this month. The details are on our website at beefaustralia.com around Pitch in the Paddock. And the requirement is for a digital video, a 3-minute video that sets the scene, sells the elevator pitch, and tells us why you want to be a part of Pitch in the Paddock at Beef Australia. So look, James, that's probably it from me. I think most importantly, again, thank you to DAF for their support of AgTech Month. And look, I do sincerely hope that that Beef Australia, you'll be all hearing from us again very shortly to confirm that our event will absolutely be going ahead in May next year in Rockhampton. So we'll be coming back to the wider stakeholders across the industry very shortly to announce that. And hopefully we look forward very much to seeing you all in May next year. Thanks, James.
Great, Bryce. Very good, mate. I just, yeah, well done. And well done on your presentation. It's exciting, the the Pitch in the Paddock and also the display you'll have there. And I note that in Pitch in the Paddock last year, last Beef Week, one of the actual presenters have attracted a lot of capital in terms of building their AgTech solution. So well done. It means a lot, and yeah, really looking forward to it. Bryce, before you go, any tips for the Cup tomorrow?
No, absolutely not, James. I'm a pretty terrible punter, to be honest.
All right, very good, Bryce. All right, we'll have a great lead up to Christmas, and good luck with Beef 2021 next year.
Thanks so much, man. Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was Bryce Camm. Thanks very much again for Beef Week Australia to let him come on and talk with us. And I just wanted to do a shout out to Beef Central and AgTech Central, that also were a media partner for this event, and they broadcasted this webinar broadly across their networks for us. So thanks very much to the guys there at Beef Central and AgTech Central. And so now we're moving on to Kim Helmuth from Glenelg Cattle Company, and Kim's just talking about her agribusiness journey of adoption and integration and what they're using there on the farm just north of Emerald. So I'd like to hand over to Kim, and and good luck. Thanks very much.
Good morning. Kim Helmuth from Emerald. My husband and I have a small property, Glenelg Cattle Company. We're about 15 kilometres north of Emerald. We're quite new to the farming business. We run Bazaday cross cattle. We also have for our own use pigs, sheep, goats and a variety of poultry. So we've got quite the menagerie. But we do have paying jobs that we don't rely on Mother Nature and cattle prices in town. We have a manufacturing business in engineering, which we have been operating since 1997. And in next slide, thank you, Kaylee. In 2016, we bought Glenelg, and we had a caretaker on site, and we used to just work on the weekends doing fencing and all the fun stuff that you have to do to get your property in order. And we found in 12 months in, we lost our caretaker that used to help us manage the place, because we would work in town during the week and just do the weekend work. So we needed some assistance to help us look after the farm and looking after the cattle, primarily water, keeping an eye, making sure they've got water. And we looked at, through our business, we had some experience in technology, and we knew that there were sensors out there that could assist us to do that. So we went through a concept for the design to have a look at what's out there and what we could utilise. So in 2018, we went into some trialling of devices. Next slide, thanks, Kaylee. So the devices that we we started off with, we had a gateway hub, which was provided to us from PLF Australia. So it's just a platform that collects the data from all the sensors and puts it in one central place for us. So it makes, we can monitor it on any mobile device. The actual sensors that we put into place were a water flow meter, a water meter which measures flow and volume, and we also had water tank level sensors and an on-farm weather station. Next, please. So the benefits that we found from the water meter, first up, we could configure the holding capacity of our paddocks with the cattle, and you can see straight away the usage of the water and the flow, the volume. It's all on the platform. You can set it up to look at it a week, a day, however long you want to look at it and monitor it. You can you actually can see if you have like a high flow volume, but you know you haven't got cattle in that paddock, then there's something's not right. So we have actually found leaks due to that information. And you actually set parameters for notifications at different levels. So you know, you can, if you've got cattle in there, you can put the level lower or higher, depends on how much usage you're expecting. So that's been really good. Next. This is the monitors, the tank level sensors that across all our tanks around our property. You can see on the left is all the tanks, and then on the right you can actually drill down into each individual tank. So you can see also the green, yellow, red, they're the levels that we've set for the notifications. So some of them, if we've got cattle in there, like I said, we'd probably set that lower than 50% because we expect them to drink more. And then also if that's not happening, then why is that not happening? So it gives us notifications at different levels that we set as to our priorities at that time. Easy for us because we can see it straight away, we can monitor it, it notifies us anytime. We can just check in, or if there is an issue we do get a notification. So next please. So this is a weather station. So once again, you can set out what your outlook is. So you can look for a week or a month or whatever. It's really very accurate, much more than BOM at times. And it's actually local, like right to where we are. So we're getting the information that's within our area. So that's been really good. In February, we had some rain coming, and we knew about it several weeks before it actually happened, and because our property is separated by creeks, we had time to plan and get them across the creek and be ready for that rain, because we're often, the property is often separated from the water. Next. So we did have a few different challenges along the way. We originally started out with ultrasonic water level sensors for our tanks, and these actually sit from the lid above the water and they measure that way. So with the temperature and the poly tank sweating, the condensation played a bit of issue with the data that we were getting. And also with the different tanks, we had a concrete tank not having enough space between the roof of the tank and the water also played an issue. So, and because they were suspended, we created a lovely atmosphere for a family of frogs in several tanks. So these are some of the challenges that we had to face and work out what would be a better way to deal with it. Next. So hydrostatic tank level sensors was one of our solutions to those problems. That hydrostatic tank level sensor sits in the water and measures pressure. So that done away with the issue with the condensation and our frogs. The data is a lot more reliable, and just getting this data has given us a bit more time in the afternoons, because we're working in town, not having to go out there and spend hours going around checking water. So it's given us a bit more time to appreciate the lifestyle and live the lifestyle that we bought, why we bought the property in the first place. We do use a CCTV as well. We have a property, a smaller property, about 5 hours away, and we can monitor that on our for security, because it is quite remote, but there is access by water and road, so that gives us peace of mind having that monitored. So we have invested in PLF Australia. Because we could see the value of the technology and how that can save us time and resources, and you know, it has given us that chance to, and that time that we wanted to enjoy our surroundings and living on the land, and you know, growing our own and providing a lifestyle that we both craved. So it gives us a big escape from our in-town full-on jobs. Yeah, I think PLF Australia has some great ideas. It offers the services to the farmer that just to mitigate any pains that they feel they're having. So, you know, sensors and lots of different technology out there. We can see plenty of opportunities in the future, and PLF don't lock you into their non-proprietary devices, so you're not locked into another device, another platform. It's they all come onto the one platform, and so you're getting the newest and the best of breed in the technology and sensors, which is a really a great advance. Next, thank you. So we are excited for the future. We know we've seen soil temperature, moisture sensors, walk-in way, gate actuators, you know, animal health devices. There's so many opportunities to utilise the technology into our farm management, and we're excited to see where that can take us. And that's it. I'd also like to thank James and Daff for giving me this nervous opportunity. I hope I did it right.
Well done, Kim. That was a great presentation. Can you hear me there now?
Yep.
Yeah, well done. That was very interesting, and you know, I think it's got application for, you know, not only lifestyle farmers but really commercial operators once it sort of gets up and going. So yeah, that's interesting, and you might find some more information on Kim's products, PLF, through the AgTech Finder discussion we're going to have a little bit later on with Kylie Carpenter from Food Agility. So well done, Kim. And yeah, have you got any tips for the horse races tomorrow at all?
There's supposed to be a Claremont horse, I believe, or a Claremont rider, something.
Yeah, great.
His name, I can't think of it, but if I see it, I'd know it.
Is it Russian Camelot at all? Is it Russian Camelot at all?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, very good. Okay, well that's great. Yeah. And Kim, how much do you think you've sort of invested in your AgTech journey so far?
Well, we've had a few ups and downs with testing the technology, but look, it's been affordable. I would say probably $50,000 have been the investment, but we're hoping to keep that investment as a monthly subscription. So once you come on with set sensors, then that will be just a monthly subscription to the platform, and PLF are there to back you up with any extra services that you might need. Okay, great, Kim. All right, well done. We look forward to hopefully seeing you at Beef Week next year with some of your solutions. So that's great. And just before we go into our next presenter, Jerome Leray, I'd just like to thank Jason Huggins and
and Kimberly Percival for pulling this together as part of the DAF digital team. DAF's got a really good push on the digital sort of economy at the moment in agriculture. So it's great to see some investment behind that, and hopefully through election on the weekend we'll see some more firepower thrown this way, given the intent and also the interest in what we're doing. So what I'd like to introduce Jerome Leray now from InFarm. Jerome's got a Minister's Award for Emerging Leader, and is based down, I'm pretty sure, at Gundawindi down there, Jerome. And yeah, really looking forward to hearing Jerome speak. I was at one of his first pitch events at 400M in Toowoomba a few years ago. It was very, very, I suppose, inspiring what he was doing, but also the ability to be able to answer questions from potential investors was great as well. So I'm really looking forward to Jerome speaking this morning, and I might hand it over to you now, Jerome, and yeah, good luck this morning.
Cheers, James, and thanks a lot to everyone that's helped put this on. I do remember that 400M conference. Hopefully I've got, I can talk about what we're doing in a little bit more detail. So, listen, I've been asked today to come in and talk specifically around the tech. There's obviously some potential confusion around, how to select tech, how to start, how do you actually evaluate the whole entire system, and what are some of the key tips through some examples that I have of things that we've done, and hopefully answer what do I think the role of the professional ag service or these ag tech providers is. So just as a bit of a background, so InFarm is the company that I founded. It's a big data analytics and AI company that focuses on agriculture. So what we do is we use big data analytics and artificial intelligence to try and help farmers. That's basically what we do. Now, putting this technology in a bit of context, Australian farmers, I think, are actually the world's best farmers. James touched on the fact that, we have a highly variable climate. We actually have some pretty ancient soils when you compare it to our European and our Northern American counterparts. So the ability of our farmers to be able to produce with that variability in climates, a slightly less than productive soil, and also the fact that they're not backed by major government subsidies, means that farmers have been quite amazing at being able to compete on a global stage. And I think that comes down to the fact that that they're actually innovative, right? They've been forced to innovate and to adapt quickly. Just for reference, like Australian producers and the Australian ag tech industry currently has the world's longest sprayer. They were integral in creating the conservation tillage or no-till in the cropping environment. Soil moistures, some of that technology was developed and really commercialised in Australia. We heard earlier today about the advent of RTK and tractor guidance systems for GPS guidance. That was actually invented here in Australia by Australian farmers, and also the invent of camera technology. So, what we call camera sprays, which identify green in a fallow environment and then trigger the spray. So listen, all of these innovations are actually here in Australia, and specifically in and around Queensland. And so we have that history of doing it. But the next generation is not necessarily going to be hardware. It's going to be a lot of that software component and combining it with the hardware to solve some of the big problems that farmers have. So how do we go about selecting that technology? And it all starts with, what's the problem you're actually trying to solve, and whose problem is it? So there's a lot of focus on the farmers' problems, but they might not necessarily be the person who's having that problem in the ag industry. You can also look at the agronomist, potentially the vet, other consultants that are around the farming enterprise. Then that takes us to, are the problems more so on the industrial side in terms of the market, the people that are trading the grain, trading the cattle, the insurance brokers, the machinery dealers, those types of people that are kind of sitting behind the consultant and the farmer. And so once you identify what that true problem is, then you can start to look at where that problem's occurring. I have a pretty simple way of looking at it. Is it happening above the ground, on the ground, or below the ground? For those in the livestock industry, is it happening on the animal? Is it coming from the environment? Or is it being transmitted by other animals? So a big one, say for example, is bats with horses. There was a couple of outbreaks there. So what is the actual vector for the problem? Where is it actually physically coming from? Or is that problem coming from external market forces? So once you've defined the problem, is it actually economic to try and fix? I've seen and created plenty of technology that was amazing, but didn't actually help the farmer and didn't either bring them a benefit or reduce their cost. So what's that cost benefit analysis of that problem, and is it actually worth solving? And so once you've defined that, the way that we look at it is we look at the sensor, we look at the data connectivity, how you're actually moving that physical data around, and then what's the insight or what's the action that you're going to take from that information? Is it an act or do not act type outcome? And so the role of the service provider is to try and solve these three problems and provide it to the farmer, the consultant, or to the ag industry in general in a package that solves their problem. So with regards to the sensors, the way that we kind of go through how we select our sensors is, once again, above ground, on ground, or below ground. Is the problem visible in those different metrics? The other side is what is the cost of the individual sensor and how much area can we actually cover using that sensor? So say, for example, satellites, really good at getting cheap data very regularly around the world on a scale that's really, really amazing. But if we want to go and try and detect a bug on a plant, it's going to be very difficult to do that from a satellite image. So what we're going to need is more resolution, so we can use things such as drone or camera-based systems or aircraft in certain scenarios to try and detect those bugs. Now, as we start to look at increasing resolution and increasing the ability or the detail that we're actually trying to generate, it obviously has some major impacts on the quantity of data that we're producing. And we talk about terabytes, gigabytes, megabytes, and to illustrate how much 1 terabyte is worth, the everyday laptop has about 1 terabyte's worth of data to be able to be stored on that. When we talk about moving gigabytes worth of data, it's about the size of an 1.5 to 2 hour movie. And if anyone sent an email and had that annoying message that bounced back that says you can't send this email because the attachment is too large, that limit is around about 25 megabytes or a couple of large photos. So that gives you an idea of the scale of data, from an entire computer to moving a movie to trying to send an email. And based on how much data you're trying to move around the farm will dictate what data connectivity you need to do that. So there's an Australian company, it's called Myriota. It's basically a satellite communication system, and it allows you to move, I think it's 25 bytes of information. Now 25 bytes is literally about 25 characters. So sending like a text message. Now there's a lot of information that you can transmit. We heard earlier about trough monitoring, water monitoring, those types of things. The Myriota system is ideal for those kind of data transmissions because it's very small and it literally costs cents to be able to move that data around. I think from memory, if you sent a 25 byte message every day for an entire year, I think it ended up being for like $25 a year or something like that. So extremely cheap for those sensors. Now, if you're starting to look at soil moisture probes and you want a daily or minute by minute update, then you've got to look at a system called LoRaWAN. Now, there's a company called Goanna Ag, who's got a bit of a national footprint and going and taking on international markets, who's using this type of technology to move their data. And so they've got a mobile weather station that has soil moisture probes, wind direction, all those types of things, and they need something like LoRaWAN to move it. Then we start to get into the gigabytes, so really big data. And there was some work done by Microsoft Research Department that was using TV white spaces to move large quantities of data. Now, what TV white spaces are is, when you change your TV and you get these static, basically that's unoccupied bandwidth that we could be transmitting messages or data through, and it allows us to do it over large areas and allows us to move large data quantities. And then we start to go through to the fibre optic and the point-to-point wireless. It's now starting to become more and more used in areas like Dalby, Goondiwindi, and in major regional hubs. That point-to-point wireless technology is slowly but surely coming through. And then the last one, which is the one that I think has a lot of potential, is what we call edge. And so when we talk about edge computing, basically what we're doing is talking about processing the data on the actual sensor itself. So then we don't need to move that data around. So say, for example, we've got an auto drafting system. It detects that this animal has pink eye, for example, automatically drafts that cow off into the vet pen for us to be able to check. And so the computation or the decision process to be able to say, does that cow have pink eye? Yes, then put it there. All gets done on the actual device at the edge, and it doesn't need to go to the cloud or anything else to be able to do that. And there's companies such as, I think it's DXO or DOX, who are an Australian listed company that are looking at providing edge computing in and around the world. So once you've, got the sensor detected, identified how you're actually going to do the compute and going to move that data around, then it's, what are you actually trying to analyze? Are you looking at the images? Are you looking at trying to analyze the chemistry of the soil, the physical properties of the soil, and then how you're going to actually interpret that? So are you using artificial intelligence, or are there other ways that you can detect the properties and the things that you're looking at? And then obviously, how do you automate that entire process to target that problem, to take an actual action, or to take the decision not to act based on that information? And so at the end of the day, we're looking at automating it and really making the farmers' lives easier, or the person whose problem you're trying to make easier. So here's a couple of examples of what we've done for weed detection. So obviously weed management's a major cost, has certain environmental impacts. And so how do we build a system that scales to be able to detect weeds? Now we had a couple of different options for sensors and platforms to detect this. We had drones, we had planes, we had satellites, and we had potential ground imagery that we could use. And so once we do that, then we go and say, okay, well, how big are the weeds that we're trying to detect? Can they be detected in a meter pixel, which is easy to do to use satellite images? Do we need sub-centimeter resolution imagery? Or are we looking to detect two different types of grasses, in which case we'll need some very high resolution imagery to be able to detect? And so once we did that, we developed a system that used UAVs, or an aerial platform, to detect the weeds. So what we do is we fly the paddock, we detect the weeds, we then put it into a tractor file that then allows us to go and spray and target only where the weeds are. And so from the farmer's point of view, they don't need to change anything except putting a USB into their spray rig, and then we'll literally control the nozzles, turning them on or off, depending on if there are weeds. So an MVP, which is a minimum viable product, is something that that we had a little while ago. But in order to make it scale and be able to accommodate or integrate with the farmer's system, we needed to increase the scalability of the system. So what we did is we went from a cheap drone that you can buy from Harvey Norman or anywhere, to a system that required a little bit more engineering and expertise to be able to cover extremely large areas in a timely manner. And so what we developed is a system that allows us to do the capture. We're generating about 6 terabytes of data per day. So that's like 6 laptop computers. And we're processing that without the internet, without the requirement for connectivity. We're doing literally all that at the edge. So it overcomes all this big data analytics and artificial intelligence problems that farmers have by allowing them to do it on the sensor and do it at the farm gate, back home, basically, from their point of view. We've done work with Microsoft to detect certain species in pasture, to detect cattle from aerial imagery. There is a likelihood that we'll be able to estimate the volume of cow and therefore how heavy a potential beast is. So when we're starting to do a stock take of how many of your cattle in some of those big stations in northern Queensland and in Northern Territory, we'll be able to estimate how many kilos and how many head of cattle you got running around. We then got the ability to go and count and detect kangaroos. And our AI system's also been used to detect certain crop diseases in certain scenarios. It's been a long road up until now. You know, we started back in 2017 and slowly been growing. We've worked with the likes of Microsoft, Dell, to create the AI system and the big data analytics platform that we have. And last year we won the Australian Technology Competition for the food and agribusiness category. So if you're looking to solve your problem, look at the sensors that you might be able to use to solve that. What are going to be your data connectivity requirements? Do you have certain limitations? And then what are the actions you're actually looking to take? And what is the problem you're actually looking to solve with that information? Welcome any questions. If you have any questions or you're looking to start something, happy to go through that and give you some ideas on how you might be able to do that.
Thanks, Jerome. That's brilliant, mate, and stuck to time, which is great as well. We might, if you can send any questions through, please, on the chat, that'd be great. And yeah, and we'll field those towards the end there. And yeah, we've got a question already for Kim, which is great, and welcome any others. So thanks very much, Jerome. And yeah, and just wanted, before we started with Stuart, just mention all the sort of the founding members that kicked off Queensland AgTech Month, from Tisby right through to you know, CHDC, and you know, everybody up north. Yeah, just everyone that's on the session that helped form this opportunity. So that's great. And Jerome, thank you very much. We might just swing straight into Paul and yeah, and kick things off there, mate. And so Paul's from the Department of Agriculture and Fisheries, and he's a senior, well, agri-science researcher. He's just going to talk about what's on the horizon, and I suppose the opportunities exist for producers in Queensland, but also yeah, what opportunities might exist in general. So yeah, welcome, Paul, and yeah, looking forward to listening to you this afternoon.
G'day, thanks, James. It's quite good that we've had Jerome and Kim talk just before me, because they're actually covering a lot of the areas that I am as well, which is great. And I suppose I just wanted to give you a snapshot of a couple of things that are on the horizon. There's stuff out there. It's, you know, the amount of technology that's coming into ag and that's being invested in ag tech is amazing at the moment. A lot of that technology has come from other, like overseas and different industries, but ag tech companies are getting established in Queensland and Australia, which is great to see. And we're really starting to build a big ecosystem here that can build off itself, and we've seen some examples of those already in the couple of speakers before us. So just a quick intro. I'm in Toowoomba. I've been doing a lot of mechatronic, which is just a combination of electronics and robotics together. And I just want to take you through some of the big things that I see, and I've seen them mentioned already in some of the things before, so I'll run you straight into them. So first thing is improved connectivity as a general theme. I think we're going to see better connectivity across remote areas. One way that is going to happen is low Earth orbit satellites, and Jerome mentioned them being like Myriota before. Is that you know, they're very low bandwidth kind of things, but there's a new generation coming that's going to be a higher bandwidth and a lot lower latency. If you can see that that diagram there, our normal satellites sit at about 36,000 kilometres. These low Earth orbit ones are sitting anywhere between 500 and 2,000 kilometres. So what that means is that, you know, the traditional satellite systems that you're used to, where you've got, you know, a lot of lag, and even if you try and talk on a satellite phone, you might have realised that's like talking on a two-way or worse. That kind of latency is going to be taken out of the system. There's several big companies that are looking at doing this. They're already registered with ACMA in Australia, our communications regulator. So there's Starlink from the US, and that's SpaceX, Kepler and Swarm Technologies. And this is going to give us internet, like viable internet access, just about anywhere you want. we're going to be feeding these Internet of Things, machines to machines, all of our sensors, that kind of things. And also, it's going to give you voice coverage where you're not near any mobile telephony, because you can get a good, stable internet connection to your house, and then you can use either phones from there or beam it out across the property. So another one that's Jerome mentioned, and I'm pretty sure that Kim at Glenelg is using this type of technology as well with her systems with PLF, is LoRaWAN. And these are the low power, long range networks. So this is designed for just small amounts of data, like all those examples we've seen. And it's an open global standard, which means that people can develop devices. That's part of what I do for my job. But you know, anybody can develop devices and put them onto their networks. There's public, there's private networks. So like Goanna Ag and Triple N Co and Meshed, and there are people that are out there building networks all across Australia. But it's not out of the realm of somebody setting up their own network on a farm. As long as you've got a internet connection of some sort, you can get that stuff back to the cloud and back to your apps or whatever you're talking about. Another thing that is starting to expand a lot is narrowband IoT. So that's the Telstras and Optuses of the world are enabling a lot of their towers. So if you can think of maybe the 4G coverage that's out there now, you can basically, well, what they claim is you can basically double the coverage there. So if you've got any kind of phone service, you most likely have narrowband IoT, and it does exactly the same type of thing with the sensors. It's just a different way to get the messages out, in and out, but you don't have to build the network because it's already there. And they just work on like a fairly low cost SIM card, as in like $1 a month or something like that per sensor. So there's that option out there. And the long range network stuff can use, like the Myriota can use satellites as well. So, and that's the really low bandwidth stuff. So maybe 4 times a day at the moment, but I can see that capacity really increasing, especially as those other companies come on board. Just a little bit more about, you know, these sensor networks and things that both Kim and Jerome have talked about. You know, they're really small battery and solar operated sensors. You know, you can run on a couple of AA batteries for about 2 years, that kind of stuff. So it's really becoming user friendly, and it's almost like a set and forget. So they're relatively cheap to build and operate. They've got a long range. You can get up to 20, 30 Ks, and if you run out of range on your property because it's bigger than that, well, it's easy to set up solar powered gateways, and then you can kind of extend that range again. And it really just allows data to be collected from anywhere, from just about anything, including, you know, animals running around and everything. And they're encrypted communications. Out on a remote cattle property or something in Western Queensland, that may not be as much of an issue. But, you know, as you get further into the more populated areas where you might have overlap and you might be sharing some infrastructure, you really want all that encrypted, especially if you're controlling something like turning something on and off, or, you know, irrigation systems. So it's very important. So just some of the applications that we've seen, and we've already seen some of these from Kim. And that's weather station data, so you can get your own forecasts and things like we saw with Kim's one. We've seen a lot of irrigation scheduling and automation, so you can turn pumps on and off, you can open channel gateways, you can put soil moisture sensors at the end of the run so that you know when the water's reached the end. You can do a lot of improved spraying decisions and record keeping because you've got your localized data with your wind speed and things like that. You can do a lot of remote operations, like making sure that you can turn things on and off, open gates. All that stuff is out there already, and certainly building momentum as far as remote management goes. Farm security is a big one. You know, if a tractor's moving and it shouldn't be, if a quad bike's rolled over, you can get a message sent straight back. Even if you haven't got mobile coverage, these devices can send those emergency and important messages back. And even with farm security, you can have GPSs on things so it can tell you exactly where it's gone and where it's going. And a lot of livestock and crop monitoring, which we've seen examples before today as well. So just I'm going to wrap this kind of package up into IoT, so the Internet of Things, the big data, which we're collecting more and more data, AI, which what Jerome was just talking about, some of his applications, and machine learning. So that's machines learning from past data and things, and what it can do from that. So digital agriculture, we just want to put some figures on it. You know, collecting and analysing farm data, we could be increasing the gross value of our production by about 20 billion. And IoT solutions, so just the kind of examples that we've seen today, we could be looking at, you know, 14 to 22 billion, or maybe like a fifth, kind of 20% increase through like improving crop and livestock yields, reduced wastage and livestock mortalities. You know, things that you do on the farm can be all improved, and maintenance and labour cost savings. Labour cost savings is usually one of the big things, because our labour and our time is worth so much, and having to employ someone to do some of these jobs can cost you a lot, and this is where these really do have good payoff. So just some of the, to combine and analyse the farm data, we can actually bring it in from lots of different sources. You know, there's the IoT sensors that we're talking about. Jerome was talking about the tractors, kind of stuff that they're fully spec'd out. Like the tractors, new tractors these days have got a lot, they're collecting a lot of data all the time. We can utilise that. You can either use weather station data from your own place or from the BOM one. We can do satellite imagery, and there's some really good, like 3 metre pixel, 1 metre pixel kind of stuff at the moment. Drones, is like exactly like Jerome was talking about. And believe it or not, actual human inspections, and we can do data inputting from that as well. So don't rule the humans out completely. So what do we use it for? We can improve it to improve the information that you have to actually make decisions. We can provide accurate predictions, learning from current and historical data. So sometimes you can either continue to collect that data and it can learn from that, or and then it can also make some predictions as we go. And we think we saw Kim, they were doing some weather forecasting there, and because you had localized data, that made it so much better than what the BOM was be able to do at the regional and state level. I've done lots of systems where you do alarms and alerts when certain conditions and measurements are, you know, they're going to lead to a problem. But we really need to probably ask the question as we're going along here, is need to develop data ownership standards in ag. They've gone through it in Europe, and they've gone through it in the USA and things as well. And I think we probably need to take this step here to ensure that we've got privacy, we get value from the data that we're delivering, especially if we can maybe sell that to different companies, and just to maintain the security of your own information. Just to give you an example of a great little machine learning device, this is a Movis, and that's a company from Brisbane, I believe, and you can plug this little magnet-based thing, and you can plug that onto the side of a pump, and it can learn what a pump, when it's operating very well with all the vibrations and the sounds and the noise and things like that. And then once it learns that over a few weeks, once it's finished learning that, it establishes the baseline of this is what a healthy, good pump is when it's working well. And if there's something that goes astray, like there's more vibration or it's not pumping when it should be, those kind of things, it can alert us to it on a dashboard or text or email and things like that. So it's a great Queensland invention, and they're going great guns. So another big area that's really taking off, and I mean, there's a lot of development and research work happening at the moment in this, but moving through to commercialization is one of the big steps. But we really want to try and reduce the repetitive and easily automated tasks on farms. We should be able to free up labour. Like I said before, it's one of your most costly inputs as far as on the farm goes. And you really should be taking the skilled labour and putting them to more complex, important jobs around the farm. Just on the bottom left, we've got an automated, like a robotic capsicum picker. In the middle, you would have seen, a lot of people would have seen this already, the Swarm Farm from central Queensland. With that's the Swarm bot, so that's automatic spraying and other operations. On the right is actually a robot that moves through a chicken shed, a chicken meat shed, and it can till the litter that it's on, so that improves health for the chickens. But then it also can disinfect. It can identify diseased chickens. It's a great platform to put other sensors on. So it's taking temperature, humidity. It's doing the whole lot and reporting all that back at the moment. So just to want to run through just a few examples we've got in DAF of what we're doing in AgTech and research. There's plenty going on across our whole department and in lots of different industries. I'm doing work in oyster production. I'm doing work in chicken meat sheds. We're doing lots in horticulture. But here's just a few that I thought I might just give you an idea of where we're heading. So we're taking there's some research farms dotted around Queensland, and we're starting to transform those into a showcase smart farms. And what we mean by that is that we'd like to demonstrate AgTech, Queensland AgTech on those farms so that we can help them develop, we can optimise it, and we can make sure that we can be adopted into farming systems. There's some AgTech companies out there come from the really tech background and don't have a lot of ag background. So we'd like to be able to bridge that gap and bring them across and maybe connect them with farmers, give them a trial farms to work this stuff out on, and then hopefully move out to the industry and commercialise. So we're setting up AgTech sector reference groups so that we're making sure that we've got the most appropriate investment in research. And we'd also like to broaden the skills in our own department towards AgTech stuff and data management and that kind of thing. So not only supporting new AgTech companies in Queensland, but also building our own skills as well. So another technology that's quite interesting on the horizon that we're doing some research in is hyperspectral imaging. So these cameras can take a spectral signature of materials, in that it's the 400 to 2,500 nanometer range. And if you know of near infrared or NIR technology that's used for lots of different things, we have, it's kind of the next gen of that. So that allows instant identification of materials, of the characteristics of materials. And so applications of those on the farm are, we can take instant soil moisture on the surface and nutrients. We can get plant nutrition and stresses. We can look at pathogens and any diseases instantly with what we've got. Then in harvesting, like in harvested crops, say grain or something like that, we can put it on an auger on a conveyor belt. We can look at moisture, any insects in the grain, weed seeds, mycotoxins, any wood or any extraneous materials. But we can also get like protein and nitrogen levels and all that stuff instantly as we go through as well. So that's really interesting stuff that is really the next step of, being able to grab a quick spectral signature of it, and then that matches up with a library of what we've got. In animal production.
Paul, yes. James here, mate. This is incredibly informative, the presentation. What I might do, because we've got a timeline to stick to, would it be okay if we just have you got many slides to go left at all?
About two.
Two, okay, all right. We might just round that off, and that'd be great, and then just hold questions to the end there. But that's great, mate. Very good, and I'd encourage, because there's a lot of detail here. If anyone's willing to talk to, wanting to get in touch with Paul, please reach out to Daff or myself, and we can connect you all up, because there's some pretty extreme work that Paul has been exploring and is capable of doing. So if pointed in the right direction, it'd be it'd be quite powerful. So handing back over to you, Paul.
Yep. Thanks, James. So just another quick one. We're looking at putting in some microclimate nowcasting, so doing a lot of weather stations, filling in the gaps basically of where all the bomb stations are. So that'll give us that kind of localized stuff that Kim had invested in, but for everybody in the regions. And just to give you a quick idea, if you're an AgTech thing that's looking at AgTech company that's looking developing stuff, we've got a mechatronic engineering workshop here that we help AgTech companies and startups develop. We're going to be working with the AgTech and Logistics Hub here in Toowoomba. And James, I'll wrap it up for you. Just if you're looking, you've probably seen this in a previous webinar, but I just want to, if you're looking for support for AgTech sector, we've got an AgTech sector engagement officer called Jason Huggins. There's his details, and please go to our website, which is you can see there, daffqueenslandgov.au/agtech for any further information. Thanks, James.
Paul, that's excellent. Thank you very much. It's so great to have such capabilities in DAF, and I'd implore people to get in touch with Paul, given his skill set there to generate more opportunities. I suppose the AgTech month is it was specifically put together to coordinate the events that were happening across the state and sort of truncate them into November AgTech month, and we're really looking forward to catching up with Sonia and Cassie Turner from CHDC on what they're up to. I suppose COVID sort of spun Queensland AgTech month a little bit in that there's a lot of virtual events going on as well that have already run, and you can see, I suppose, the AgTech cluster pivot a bit. So it's extraordinary how COVID has affected things, but still we've got some face-to-face events coming up in the Central Highlands that we'd love to profile. What I might do now is we'll switch over to Kylie Carpenter from Food Agility, from the Food Agility CRC. Just have a look at AgTech Finder there, and and we'll kick that off, Kylie. And really looking forward to listening to you address the audience today.
Sorry, it's just having a bit of problems getting my video up and running. So can everyone see that presentation okay?
Yep.
Fantastic.
You might just have to put it in presentation mode.
Yeah.
That's all good. And while we're waiting, guys, I just also want to mention we've got in terms of Western Queensland, we've got an event coming up on Friday for a newly formed organisation called GrowQ, and GrowQ is I suppose, implored to build and accelerate performance in agribusiness and primary production in Western Queensland. So we're touring the Longreach sale yards, which is now named the Western Queensland Livestock Exchange, and touring the kangaroo processing facilities, and also the abattoir that's just newly been leased by a local operator here in Longreach. So if anyone's in and around Longreach, it's on Eventbrite, and we'd love to show you all the technologies that are going in out at the Longreach sale yards. So with that in mind, Kylie, you ready to go?
Yeah, I'm just checking that everyone else can see my slides okay?
Yep.
Yep, great. Hi everyone. I'm happy to be here today, having just moved to Queensland recently, so it's nice to celebrate all things AgTech. Today I'll be talking to you about AgTech Finder, an online platform where you can search for your AgTech needs from a range of vendors and products. So as the Communications Officer for AgTech Finder, which is led by the Food Agility Cooperative Research Centre, it's actually my job to manage the platform. So what I'll do today is I'll talk about what is AgTech Finder, what's in it for you, and practical steps on how to use the site so you can get the most from it. So I'll quickly go through these because I know we're running a bit behind time. So finding the right AgTech can be really complicated, I understand that. So where do you start? If I search for AgTech, I get over 3 million search results. And if I search for AgTech in Queensland, I get about 114,000 results. And I'm going to guess that most of you don't have the time to go through each of those. So that's where AgTech Finder comes into it. It's taking the complicated and the time out of your search and making it as easy for you as possible to find the AgTech that will suit your needs. So the aim of AgTech Finder is to help you. We want to empower farmers to access the technology that they need to help them to make the right decisions at the right time. And I should note that AgTech Finder is a partnership. It's led by the Food Agility Cooperative Research Centre, who I work for. The tech lead was KPMG, and other partners include Insurance Australia Group, AgriFutures, National Farmers and MLA. So some of the key players in the ag sector. Together they did the research to come up with what worked for users of the site. And like any website, it's being refined over time based on user feedback. So we launched it about a year ago. So why AgTech Finder? AgTech Finder is connecting Australian producers with, I think we've got just over 200 smart farming solutions at the moment, and they're all about saving you on costs and producing more food for less. And our solutions are really diverse. We've got AgTech companies on there that are large and small, established or new, Australian and international. Farmers and producers can easily search, sort and shortlist their favourite solutions. Agronomists and farmers can build on the knowledge they need to become AgTech experts. And for vendors and technology providers, they can promote their services to a national marketplace, all in the one place. And I should note also that it's an independent service for the farming community. So listings are free for vendors. There is no payment or sponsorship or membership or anything like that. We also don't vet or assess listings. So a listing is not an endorsement. So vendors can go in and add their listing. All they do is publish it, basically. So we hope that enough information is provided on AgTech Finder so that you as the farmer can ask the questions that you need. Just some questions you should ask your AgTech provider about data as an example, and there's many other questions that you could ask, are things like who owns the data that gets generated by the equipment provided, what data is collected and who can see it, how do you store my data, is it secure, what if I want to get hold of the data or get it deleted, and another important one to ask is, do they adhere to the National Farmers Federation voluntary code around data as well, which I think was released a few months ago. And I'm really excited to announce we also have a Queensland specific AgTech Finder site, and that lists Queensland AgTech companies. This particular site is a kind of mirror of the AgTech Finder site, and we've done this in partnership with the Queensland Government. We have some really quality vendors on that Queensland site, such as AgriHive, shout out to James, who's our facilitator today. This is a brilliant initiative and an opportunity to search for and be able to deal direct with a company local to you in your state or region. So sometimes when you're making your first foray into the AgTech world, it's sometimes nice to go local. So note on the broader AgTech Finder site, there are vendors from all over, not just Queensland, but they also supply services or products to Queensland. So as you can see there, we've got 30 vendors with 59 solutions on the Queensland site at the moment and growing. So now I've given you an overview about what is AgTech Finder. Here's a short clip showing you how to navigate the site. So I'll just press play on that one. So there is the Finder where you can search based on agricultural sector, or you can go to the directory where you can narrow based on a number of filters. So this is really helpful. So narrow based on sector, maybe you want to narrow your search based on focus area, such as nutrition and water, connectivity, or your solution type that you're after as well. So that could be processing, robotics, smart tags, etc. And from there, you can come up with a solution that will suit your needs, or a range of solutions that can suit your needs. There's also an expert info section, so that's really helpful, where we blog about various AgTech things that are happening in Australia and internationally. So as you can see, it's really customizable. You can go to, this is the homepage of the site, so you can click on if you're a farmer or producer, an agronomist or an AgTech vendor, and just go to where you need to go and then filter or add your AgTech product, depending on if you're a farmer or a seller of AgTech. It's really customizable. If we go onto the website, the solutions pages, so when you come to an AgTech solution, and this is an example from AgriHive again, this is what you'll see on the page. There'll be a bit of an overview of the solution, and then it will tell you what focus area it relates to, the pricing model, installation, what maintenance is required and what support is provided, how many units have been deployed, so you get a bit of an idea of, you know, how long I suppose this type of AgTech's been going for and how much has been sold, the communications required, and also data ownership, data privacy and security policies as well. And then if you want to learn more about the actual vendor of the solution, you can click on that as well. We also have an AgTech Harvest newsletter that goes out fortnightly, and all of that information goes onto our expert info section, which is our blog. So if you jump onto the AgTech Finder website homepage after this webinar, scroll to the bottom of the page, you'll find our subscribe to newsletter. It's fortnightly, and we do a feature story really aimed at informing farmers. And we also do a news roundup of the latest AgTech news in Australia and internationally. So that is AgTech Finder. All of our speakers actually today have spoken about AgTech that is on AgTech Finder, so please go and check it out. We've spoken about AgTech such as AgriHive, InFarm, PLF Australia, for example. They're all on the AgTech site. We're hoping to continually improve on the platform. It was launched a year ago. There are really so many opportunities to expand on the offer, so hoping to offer AgTech Finder 2.0 at some point. And I would encourage you to follow us also on the socials, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and any questions at all, please feel free to email me. So that was a really quick run through. So thank you to everyone. I'll hand back over to James.
Congratulations, Colin. That's a great presentation, if I don't say so myself. But yeah, it'd be quite interesting, you know, given the events that we're, I suppose, profiling in AgTech Month, to actually have an events, you know, upcoming AgTech events tab on that website at some stage. But anyway, it might be 2.5 the edition. So we'll see how we go. But we might hold questions until the end there for you, Kylie, and jump straight into some of the events. So well done. It looks great, and glad to have you in Queensland. So yes, so thanks very much. So right now, everybody, we've got Sonia and Cassie from CHDC presenting, and really looking forward to their discussion. They'll be talking about the AgTech Innovation Mission to Brisbane, and then further talking about Beef Tech 2020. So both projects that are being run as part of the Ag Frontier Regional AgTech Catalyst Program. So we're really looking forward to hearing from them today. And yeah, with the nature of AgTech Month, it's great to profile a couple of the events that are really happening. And yeah, I'd love to hand over now. And yeah, thanks so much for presenting your events today.
Hey James, how you going?
Good, thank you.
Thanks for having us here today. We're based here out of Emerald with the Central Highlands Development Corporation, and part of what we do is the Ag Frontier Regional AgTech Catalyst Program, which builds on the success of our Ag Frontier Regional AgTech Incubator that we ran over the last 18 months or so. And some of you in the AgTech space would know some of our alumni from that program, people like Swarm Farm, Data Farming, Lyro Robotics, etc. So one of the challenges for regional AgTech innovators is access to the same opportunities as their urban counterparts. So if you're in a startup accelerator or incubator program in say Brisbane, Sydney or Melbourne, you regularly get to hang out in co-working spaces, have access face-to-face to mentors, or get to meet with investors face-to-face and have all those networking opportunities. But when you're out in regional Queensland or other parts of Australia, particularly when your startup is a spin-off from your primary production business or agribusiness, you don't have access to those opportunities. So we collaborated with Startup Catalyst to put on the AgTech Innovation trip to Brisbane. And so from the 9th to the 12th of November, we'll be taking both our Ag Frontier Incubator alumni, as well as a new crop of people from our Catalyst program, from the Isaac Regional Council, Central Highlands Regional Council and Warrabinda Aboriginal Council areas down to Brisbane to spend a few days accessing those same opportunities as their urban counterparts. So they'll be visiting incubators, local tech hubs, meeting with mentors on investment and perfecting their pitches. And they'll be doing some sessions on grants and support programs for startups, as well as masterclasses with innovation and startup VC specialists. So our focus for that event is very much on networking, learning and collaborating. And one of the things that we found out of our incubator program up here was that when you put agricultural innovators together in these kind of programs, they make really strong connections with each other, and for them, when they're isolated and regionally based, being able to have that tribe factor becomes a very important source of success for them to have their startups and spin-offs actually be able to get some traction and progress. And so I've no doubt will be a really important outcome from this trip with a group of 25 or so of Queensland's best and brightest. One of the other events that we're also running during AgTech month is Beef Tech 2020 out of Emerald, and I'll hand over to my colleague Cassie Turner to talk about that.
Thank you, Sonia. So Beef Tech 2020 held in April on the 24th of November, and we're supported by the Local Buying Foundation and Meat and Livestock Australia. As everyone has mentioned so far, we have so much coming through locally in the AgTech space, and Beef Tech 2020 will really showcase what we've currently got for purchase or on offer for graziers that they can start using their enterprises right now to add value. So we've got a really awesome MC, James Pisatario, who is a producer as well as the AgForce Transporting Committee member. Then we have our keynote speaker from MLA, Daryl Heideke, who is the Manager of Supply Chain Technology and Innovation, he'll just explain the off-farm and on-farm tech adoption that MLA is currently using. Then we've got guest speakers such as Gavin Tickle, who's the Queensland Regional Manager of AAM Investment Group, and they'll be talking to us about what they're using in their digital marketplaces for the sale yards. We've got Will Wilson, who is a local producer in CQ, and he'll be talking about the drone mustering that they're currently using in their property. We've got Ian McCamley, another beef producer out of Rolleston, so CQ as well, who'll be chatting to us about what they're using, their adoption of AgTech from a producer's perspective of what they're currently using on the ground. Then we've got demonstrations from PLF Australia, as mentioned earlier, where they'll be talking to us about quad bike safety technology that they're currently using and have in place. We'll also be having a display on precision water management from PLF as well, from Paul Stapleton. Then we've got Jess Crawford from Charrock with us as well, and they'll be doing demonstrations using their current Safe Station Farm app. And Bridget Kirkwood will be with us also, as mentioned earlier, from the Ken Combs Tech Yard from Beef Australia, talking about what they'll be doing as a brief update for Beef 2021. So registrations are now open for that event, which I said is being held in Emerald on the 24th of November. You'll find the link so that you can register in the comments, and we'd love to have you there.
Brilliant. Cassie, thank you so much. That's sounds like a really well planned and well coordinated event. And Sonia, same with the the catalyst and the mission. So that's brilliant. Two highly well constructed events to look out for that I think we're quite lucky to have. With the ability to travel during COVID, it'd be great to see a few people there. So what we might do now is just jump onto a few questions that we've got for the panel, and if everyone on the panel can be ready, but again, thank you very much, Sonia and Cassie. That's brilliant, and thanks for using your computer as well, Alicia, by the look of it. So thanks very much. So we might just kick off in terms of the first question that we had. That was for Kim. Kim, in terms of the CCTV footage that you are gaining with your technology, did you use an existing CCTV footage product, or did you build your own or deconstruct one?
We did design it to meet the property requirements.
Okay, great. So was that off an existing product that you may have bought?
Yeah. So existing product, and we just modified it to suit our needs.
Okay, great. Yep. So that system, was it off the shelf in Australia, or did you import it, or?
I believe it was. I'm not into the whole techie side of things, James, but I can definitely refer that to the boys, and they'll be able to let you know more information on that.
Great, and you'd have some imagery on the CCTV camera that you've got on your website as well, I suppose, or images of it.
I'm not sure that we have got the CCTV images on there. No, I'm not. We're actually in the process of redeveloping the website at the moment, so not sure where we are on that side at the moment.
Okay, great. Okay, brilliant. Thanks very much, Kim. Well done on your presentation again. I have another one for you, Paul. In terms of the data that's coming through, and Jerome, you might be able to help with this as well. In terms of the data being streamed, is there any bomb weather data that's being streamed into any apps at the moment that's being integrated with some of the technology that you guys have seen? Or is bomb still, in terms of, I suppose, exporting their data, quite lethargic to the space, or maybe not lethargic, that might be a little bit rich, but yeah, have they got the integration abilities with their APIs to combine, or is it better to use your own weather stations?
I'll let you go, Jerome.
So there are ways to actually integrate with the BOM data through the API system. I believe that there's a couple of people that are pulling that data in. It's generally people that have their own weather network that are basically doing, like, sharing their data with the BOM, and so the BOM allows them to kind of do that dual way connection. And so I do know of a company called Goanna Ag, I believe that they might be doing it. I'm not sure if your weather information is being streamed through with the PLF, but that's something that can definitely be done. The data's there, you have access. It's just about pulling it out and actually putting it into an app format, which can be quite easily done.
Yeah, you can certainly scrape the data without the API, but to be able to feed information back into it, BOM requires a certain standard of weather station, and so that's when it becomes two-way stuff. But that's what one of our projects is about. So, and Kim, your PLF was actually doing the same thing, wasn't it?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. We are using LoRaWAN, like you did suggest, and yeah, that's how we're getting our data.
It'd be good to know where the question came from. What's the particular use case where they actually need that BOM data to be streamed to an app? It'd be really good to get a bit more information as to why specifically that needs to be done, because there are plenty other websites and platforms that allow you to visualize the weather data. I'm thinking of a company called windy.com, literally how you think, windy.com. It's a really good platform to actually visualize weather data. It also looks at the prediction, your expected rain accumulation, so the rain event and how much rain you're expecting, and it'll actually do the variety. Like if you've got an extremely large paddock or an extremely large farm, I should say, part of your farm might get rain and the other half might not, and it starts to identify and show you where those potential rainfalls are going to occur across your place. So yeah, windy.com.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of other Queensland-based technologies that are working quite well. Phil Tickle from SIBO Labs has got some great technologies, and just apologise, the technology, the cattle have sort of come in front of me there in that shot, so I'm just hiding in amongst them at the moment. But anyway, just wondering what's happening there. But yeah, so having said that, it's quite interesting. I think in terms of the the La Nina forecasted. And the and the weather, I suppose, changing a little bit leading up to Christmas. It'll be quite interesting to see what people are using in terms of their predictions for and forecasting for for the upcoming La Nina. So in terms of Central Highlands, what's your favourite sort of weather software platform that you guys use? Might be on mute, guys. I might throw straight to you.
Sorry, it's a DTN weather station. It's a top USA weather station that forecasts. They've been in the business for 10 years.
great, excellent. So what was it called? Sorry, Kim.
DTN. I can
Right.
put the information in the Q&A.
Okay, great, excellent, very good. And Kylie, you've probably got a list of software providers on AgTech Finder for weather forecasting.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of our categories. So again, if that's the sort of thing you're after, you can easily filter and find what you need.
Okay, great, excellent. All right, we might just throw to Sonia. Sonia, can you speak at all at the moment, or have you got your mute on? Okay, great. Yeah, what are you guys looking at in terms of weather forecasting?
Sorry, Bomb.
Yeah, brilliant.
You've thrown me a bit, James, because a number of the people that we work with in our incubators do have that kind of technology incorporated, but we here in Ag Frontier don't look at anything specifically around that.
Okay, yeah, brilliant. Okay, well, great. Well, guys, we might wrap that up. We was just sort of just delaying so that if any further questions came in, we'd be able to field them. So we haven't got any more at this stage, but I'd encourage anyone listening to please get in touch with some of the presenters or DAF. And thank you again to AgTech Central and Beef Central for promoting this. And Queensland AgTech Month is officially open. Thanks very much for all the presenters, and looking forward to November in Queensland. Thanks very much, everyone.
Good luck, everyone. Thanks.